Well, first, it's a pleasure to speak with you. I was last in UAE just a few months ago for COP28. COP28 was an extraordinarily important event. It was the first of the COP process meetings where governments were discussing nuclear energy as a central part of the conversation, the first time. And I wanted to be here for that. And as it turned out, it was a wise decision to be here because governments called for a tripling of nuclear capacity around the world. Now, a few months later, the World Government Summit, there's an opportunity to have the conversation with countries about what do we do to make that happen? How do we implement that? How do we make this tripling a possibility? We've done analysis over the last several months that shows that there's three major issues that countries really most need to deal with. One is financing of new projects. That's going to be very difficult, both for large, wealthy countries and also for emerging economies around the world. We're going to have to make sure the global supply chain is strong. It's been very weak for many years, but now we have to fix that. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, building human capacity, making sure that there's young people who have the scientific and technical skills to build and operate nuclear plants. That's going to be a big challenge, and I think the governments have to come together and set the stage for this and work with the private sector to make this all come about. Global nuclear capacity last year basically put it about 12% of global electricity. That's actually quite a lot. There's more than 450 nuclear power plants around the world, but compared to what's necessary to meet the climate challenge, that's a small amount. We will have to triple that capacity if the numbers are to be believed. So there's a long way to go. It's going to be difficult. It's a tremendous challenge, but we think it's quite possible if we come together now. Well, I think total growth depends on what individual countries do. We've talked about the tripling of capacity to go to about 1,200 gigawatts of capacity around the world. The analysis we've done shows that would help meet the climate challenge, but it really comes down to what each country does. What do countries like UAE do in the future? Are you able to continue building new reactors? Countries in Europe, for example, they haven't built new nuclear in quite some time. Now they want to. Can they do that on schedule? And then what about countries that have never built nuclear in the past, in Africa, in Middle East, and Southeast Asia? How do we get nuclear into those markets safely? That's the big challenge for tomorrow, and that's what we have to start working on today. I think the global landscape is very, very bright. There are some challenges we have to deal with as a world, but I think that if we're serious about climate change, all these challenges will be met. I have no doubt that if we are serious about climate change, that there'll be a huge investment to make sure that all the issues I talked about can be addressed. And I look forward to working with countries like UAE that have tremendous leadership in these areas to build those kinds of global cooperative platforms to make this all come about. The UAE is a real leader in this. The Baraka project, I think, stands as a very, very powerful symbol for other countries that you can build nuclear plants on time and on schedule. You can have safe implementation without proliferation concerns. UAE shows how to do that. The next step is how do we take that knowledge and spread it around the world? And so we are looking forward to working with officials and industry here in the UAE to make that happen. We have launched a new initiative called Accelerating SMRs to Net Zero, and we're really looking forward to partners to help us with this so we can solve these problems as quickly as possible. I think that innovation is going to be the key to everything. No matter what you think about in the future, we need new technologies. We need innovation. In the nuclear sector, innovation has been exploding. It's been amazing to watch over the last decade. Technologies that we've never seen before are now about to come on the market with molten salt reactors and high temperature gas reactors for industrial processes. This has been a huge, huge change in the way we operate nuclear power plants. At the same time, the nuclear sector has traditionally lagged behind in applying digital technologies. We can't let that happen this time. We have to make sure that the nuclear sector catches up and embraces artificial intelligence, advanced manufacturing, and other areas like that. And so the conversations that I've been listening to here about artificial intelligence are really helpful in understanding the larger context. I think that, as we heard in the summit earlier today, that the benefits are just enormous. There are issues that have to be dealt with. There are potential downsides we have to be conscious of, but these can be managed if we work together, and I believe that's what will happen.